The streets are talking. You are now listening to The Box Out, tri-state area basketball talk at its best. And now your hosts, Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK in the world, this is The Box Out here on the Just Who Talk YouTube channel. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me as always, my man Jason Cordner. Busy Jay, what's popping, bro?
Not much, man. Can you believe it? First show, Knicks preview, playoff preview is amazing. We're finally here.
I've been like hyping for this all day. I'm like, oh, we got this. So obviously we're in NBA playoffs, kind of. I guess the playing game counts, but kind of doesn't count. No one really knows if it counts, but we're in the play-in tournament. We've had 4 games in the last 2 days. We have a game tonight, actually starting in the next couple minutes. I want to talk about the first 4 games that we've seen. And to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, does it seem like the Boston Celtics was the most shocking team of these first couple of games? Because I had no hope for the Celtics going into this, and they came out and played their asses off against a Washington team that I was like, Washington might actually beat the brakes off of Boston.
I agree. I was surprised to see how well Boston played, but it goes to show you that, playoff experience kind of means something. The same thing with the Pacers. Boston and Indiana, they both playoff battle-tested teams, so they came into this play-in and they took it seriously. And Memphis, San Antonio took it a little bit seriously. But Washington, I was surprised how flat they came out. I was expecting Washington to win 2 games here, and now they're probably going to lose both.
And the scary part about Boston is, Tatum dropped 50, but Kemba Walker played like Kemba Walker.
Yep.
And I think that's a scary concept, especially with Jaylen Brown being out. They need a second to go with Tatum. If Kemba Walker plays like Kemba from Charlotte a couple years ago, I feel like you have a team that can compete in the Eastern Conference. Not saying championship, not saying Eastern Conference Finals, whatever, but that can make that series against the Nets a lot more interesting than people are kind of shaping up.
I think that series is going to be a little bit more interesting than people think. I think if Smart continues to play well and doesn't do too much, and Tatum just keeps going off, I think it could be an interesting 5-game series.
just 5 games. The other team that kind of shocked me, and I think I texted you, Indiana blew out Charlotte. Now, Charlotte's not a great team, but Indiana looked like a top 8 Eastern Conference team. They made every shot. They muscled their way into the paint. Without Karis LeVert, who's out, he's out for protocols. I don't think they can do that tonight.
No, I don't think so either. But I think just because, and what's so good about this game is we're going to see how Washington responds to a loss. Just like I think Golden State's going to respond well from their loss, because now they're like, wait a minute, this is it. We have no more room for error. So I think Washington's going to come out here and play bully ball, whereas Charlotte didn't have no bigs that could withstand Sabonis.
And last night's games, for San Antonio, and I wanted to ask you this question. What's the future look like for San Antonio? Because I feel like I think someone told me that Pop was done. He might be done. They still have Rudy Gay. They got DeMar DeRozan, but then they got a lot of young guys, and like they're almost like trying to rebuild on the fly, but still stay somewhat competitive by holding on to DeRozan and Rudy Gay and Jacob Poeltl. What's the next step for the San Antonio Spurs? Because I really don't understand what they're trying to do.
San Antonio Spurs are trying to do the one thing you don't ever want to do, and that's be mediocre. And they're trying to, instead of rebuilding on the fly and get these lottery picks, they want to play hard. They want to make the playoffs. That's just because of the coaching system and the culture. So, and just to know, you're not going to get free agents. That's not an option for you. You should really try to develop these young guys. DeRozan's probably gone. Rudy Gay, they should let him walk as well. Pop probably got one more year before he hands over the reins to either Tim Duncan or I guess Becky Hammond might be an option as coaching as well. So I think that he's probably going to wait one more year. But development-wise, to me, they're ahead of schedule. I didn't think they were going to be playing worthy. I thought they would have been a little bit lower in the Western Conference standings.
and Memphis, they advance. I really want to talk about the Laker game because I think the Laker game kind of showed what we've been talking about for the last few weeks. Golden State's not a good team. I'm just going to put it out there. Golden State's not a good team. Steph has carried that team for the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was working last night. I was working the Yankee game, the Kluber no-hitter. Shout out to Corey Kluber. I missed a lot of the beginning of the game. When I tuned into the game when all my work was done, Golden State was up by 12. I think Steph hit like a 30-foot three up by 12. And then I think Anthony Davis got a 3-point play and started kind of going downhill. What does it say to you that the Lakers really, if they went against a better team last night, would have lost? And they struggled so much, it took a miraculous one-eyed three-pointer from LeBron.
I shot at the middle hoop.
I saw 3 baskets. I shot at the middle one. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that tell you about the Lakers? And especially the last game of the season meant nothing to them. And yet Frank Vogel played a lot of those guys in that last game because I think he's afraid about the chemistry. What does the playoffs look like for the Lakers in the 7th spot when they're going to take on Phoenix?
See, this is where it gets tricky because I feel like they lucked out because I feel like had they slid to the 8th spot and played Utah, they might have been out of it. I think from what I saw from Draymond did a hell of a job on AD last night. And I feel like he set out the blueprint for the rest of the bigs in the Western Conference, how to deal with him. And to me, LeBron doesn't look all that. To me, that LeBron and AD performance yesterday was a C+ at best. So they kind of got lucky because it was pretty much Steph by himself and no one else to really help with the offensive load. But I think with Phoenix, you have a smart point guard. He's going to cause their bigs to get into foul trouble and give Schroeder and those guys, fits. It should be an interesting series. At first, I was like, maybe the Lakers will beat them in 5, but I'm not so sure anymore. I feel like I don't know if the Lakers can really run this gauntlet and make it back to the finals. I don't see it.
So we're going to talk more about that series as we kind of go through the playoff seedings and matchups. So I want to start. I was going to start in the East. We have to start with our squad, the New York Knicks, making playoffs. Shout out. They got Atlanta first round. And it seems like, if you listen to the Bill Simmons of the world and, the Nick Wrights and the Colin Cowherds and all those people, they're giving the Knicks no shot to beat Atlanta. Atlanta's too powerful offensively, blah, 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 blah. Right? If the last 2 games they played against Atlanta is any indication, they can't stop Julius Randle. Does Atlanta take that Jordan approach of like, okay, Julius is going to get his points, let him do what he does, but we're going to shut everybody else down and force someone to become that second option that, hey, RJ, you got to make your shots to win this game. Hey, Derrick Rose, you got to go back to MVP Derrick Rose and win this game. Or do you think that the Knicks might be like, hey, cool, RJ, knock that down? Do you think it's going to be that big an issue for the Knicks to find that scoring?
I don't think so. Because I think if they try to double Julius, there's probably going to be like Capella coming up. That's going to leave the paint wide open for Rose, RJ, the whole squad. And I think what the Knicks have definitely showed us this season is they have no problem being patient and waiting for their shot. So I think, one thing about Atlanta, and shout out to Nate McMillan, he's already chirping. He got fined $25,000 today. I don't think his squad or he realized that half of Atlanta is New Yorkers. So this is pretty much this whole series is home court for the Knicks. I don't think they understand that. They're gonna find that out in Game 3 and Game 4. I was just telling a friend that I was like, I don't think they understand how many New Yorkers have moved to Atlanta in the last 10 years.
Well, here's the thing, and McMillan got fined $25,000 for saying that the league wants the Knicks in the playoffs. No shit, we know that the league want the Knicks in the playoffs. It's the Knicks. You want the New York market. I'm going to say it, excuse my language, fuck Brooklyn. You want the Knicks in the playoffs. The league wants it. So the fact that he said that was really a no-brainer, and he called himself $25,000 for no reason whatsoever.
I guess that's the way to motivate his team, but
is it really motivation, though? Is it really motivation if it's true?
That's true.
You're just talking shit now at that point. So, Knicks, Hawks, who you got in the series? I'm
going Knicks in 6. Not just be a homer, just because I think they're going to put the defensive clamps on Trae Young. And we're going to see if Collins and one of these other guys are going to step up. I don't see it. I think Capella and Noel kind of like match each other out. And that's where I'm going to give Randall the advantage because they don't have anyone that can guard him. And I trust Tibbs. You know, Nathan Mellon, he has a track record, never getting out of the first round. I think that continues in this round too.
All right, I got the Knicks in 7. I think it's going to go to full 7. I think, Atlanta's one of those teams where if they get into this rhythm of shooting, they'll beat you. And I feel like you're going to have at least 2 games like that. I also think the Knicks are going to have games where they're going to be fumbling around on defense. Atlanta's really good at setting screens and finding open mans. I think that DeAndre Hunter, he comes back this series. I think he's going to be a problem for the Knicks. You know, and I feel like the inexperience. I know you got Randall, who hasn't really played a lot of playoff games, if any, I think. He hasn't played in any playoff games.
Nope.
But then you have like Taj Gibson. You got Derrick Rose. You have some of those vets like Reggie Bullock, who's kind of been around, Alec Burks. I feel like the youth of the Knicks, and not so much the youth, but the inexperience of playoffs, might equal that inexperience that Atlanta has too. So I think the first game they play is going to be a shit show. Those first few minutes from the Knicks are going to be rough because those guys are going to be like, oh, just like freaking out. I think it could be 7. I think they'll figure it out at the end. Game 7 at the Garden, Knicks in 7.
Okay. So we both got them advancing. We both got them advancing.
So I want to play this too because there was an interesting clip from First Take from Stephen A. Smith about whether the Knicks are a destination for free agents now. I think so. Obviously, Stephen A. disagrees because, you know, he disagrees with everything. Here's Stephen A. Smith on whether the Knicks are a destination for other players.
Believe it or not, no, not yet.
What do you know about Stephen A?
Let me tell you this, West, Worldwide West. Please don't text me. Don't get
Where are
on me
your
about this.
pom-poms?
Don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. What you talk about, Stephen A? Listen, here's the deal. It's not a destination spot yet. Let me explain. I can't say enough about Tom Thibodeau. He's number 2 on my Coach of the Year. I have a vote, and I'm not gonna hide it. I voted for Monty Williams. Monty Williams, Coach of the Year. Tom Thibodeau's a close number 2. I think the job Monty Williams did in Phoenix is sensational. Leon Rose is my Executive of the Year. I think he's done a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
With Scott Perry and Worldwide West, William Wesley there. From that particular standpoint, culturally, the New York Knicks can very well be a destination spot. I'm not going to even blame Dolan because in recent months, Dolan has, thank God, stayed out of the media, stayed out of the news. The question mark is Tom Thibodeau. Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. Because
he's number 2 Coach of the Year, my candidate. Great coach, number 1 defense, number 1 against three-point shooting, top 5 against the field. But today's player, they want to control stuff. That ain't happening with Tom Thibodeau. You're not going to engage in load management of your own accord working for Tom Thibodeau. You ain't going to get too many perks playing for Tom Thibodeau. You going to prioritize basketball. You playing for Tom Thibodeau. You're not going to go up on podiums talking about basketball is not on your mind. That ain't happening with Tom Thibodeau. That kind of stuff. You know, I'm just going to take days. I'm just going to take days off. That ain't happening with him.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it as a negative to him because Tom Thibodeau has been on the record talking about the adjustments that he has had to make as a head coach from Chicago to Minnesota, where he was controlling the whole thing, to now being in New York. And I give him loads of credit for that, and I believe in it. But I'm talking about today's culture of player and what they like and what they've grown accustomed to. Colliding with
it could clash with certain
colliding and clashing with the tendencies of Thibodeau.
Yep.
That is what has me a bit suspect.
I don't know what to argue with.
All right. So do you agree with that? Do you think Thibodeau could be that wild card for free agents trying to come to New York?
No, I don't agree with that because I feel like, you know, I don't think that's every superstar. I just think that's just a LeBron and Kyrie. KD was hurt. He was coming off a serious injury, so you do have to watch him and how he comes back. Harden actually got hurt too, so I'm gonna give them a pass. But the Kyries of the world, there's not many players like Kyrie in the league. Like most of the guys they do want to play, most of the younger guys, outside of the LeBron era of guys, like the guys in their 7th or 8th year in the league, they want to play. And I feel like from what we're seeing with the Knicks, Tibbs resident, he was pretty much motivating these young guys to come back and play. Julius came in shape. He pretty much loves Tibbs now. So I think that's a little bit misconstrued. But I'll say this, though. I do think, just like Heat culture, it showed LeBron how to win. As much as LeBron won't admit that, he wasn't winning anything until he got to Miami. So maybe somewhere like, Tibbs and the foundation that Worldwide West and Leon Rose is creating, I think it will be a destination spot. But more so for like the Zions and those guys coming in now. I think the younger guys outside of the LeBron age, they're going to want to come here.
Well, do you think that, I feel like with Tibbs, and I think Stephen A said it, he had to kind of change how he coaches. I feel like you look at someone that has a Giant fan obviously behind me. Tom Coughlin. Exactly. Tom Coughlin came in thinking, you leave, you're 5 minutes early. And the captains, Michael Strahan's like, like that shit don't work no more. And you kind of have to change up how he coached. I feel like Thibodeau, he learned from mistakes in Chicago. He definitely learned from his mistakes in Minnesota. And he kind of had to switch up what he did. So I think players seeing the way he switched up and how not just guys like Julius Randle brought in, but the younger guys brought into his philosophy, that might be a selling point for younger guys. Like, if they did it, we can do it. If Tim's like, listen, just work hard. Basketball is your priority. When you hear you work, I don't think a bunch of young ball players whose main objective is to ball, they want to play basketball, I don't think they're going to hate it that much.
I don't think so either. And you look at guys like, Rose love him. Randall loves him. Jimmy Butler loves him. He has fans. And I feel like there's a lot more dogs in the league than people think.
We got to talk about Brooklyn now. Brooklyn has Boston. Wait,
before you go talk about them real quick, it's fascinating to me how the Knicks sold out in 20 minutes. And the Nets are advertising James Harden. If you use code word Harden,
I saw that.
you get half the price of the tickets. I went on StubHub before we came on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Knicks tickets for Sunday afternoon, $300-$400 the cheapest for the nosebleeds. Nets tickets down in the 100 section, $85 for a Saturday night.
Saturday night playoff game.
A playoff game Saturday night, $85.
Damn. Okay. Are you going?
I thought about. You know what? I'm glad you asked me that. For double that price, I get a good section at the Garden on Wednesday. That's I'm going to.
Well, here's the thing. I saw that too on Twitter. James Harden hawking tickets. I'm like, oh god, here we go. they can't sell it out.
They can't sell it out.
I feel like Brooklyn was expected to be here. Brooklyn probably got the matchup everyone assumed they would get. The series is going to go 4, maybe 5, if Boston gets lucky. So I think you're looking ahead. If you look ahead, they got the winner Milwaukee, Miami. I think that is going to be interesting to see who they get. Because I thought Milwaukee, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Milwaukee kind of might have shown a blueprint how to beat the Nets. Miami in the playoffs is dangerous as hell. So I'm not so much worried about this round. I'm worried about the next round and that next matchup now.
Agreed. But just to think, like, the Nets probably thought they were going to be everything lined up for them. And then all of a sudden, the Knicks had a breakout season.
And, well, listen, we're still waiting for the Nets to play. Like, I think they got one game in together. I think it was the last game of the season. No, the next to last game and then the last game. So they got like 2 games together, the big 3. Do you think that lack of playing together – pretty much since Harden came in, is that going to hurt them? Not so much against Boston because this is easy work. It's going to hurt them later because against Boston, you're not getting great competition. So I feel like they're going to go off against Boston, but you against Miami, you're going to need some chemistry. Do you think that's going to hurt them in the next round?
At first, I was like, yeah, but now I'm like, you know what? Those 3 guys, the big 3, they're high IQ guys, and I think Harden, especially playing the role as playmaker, he's going to find his guys. He's going to find his guys. And I think offensively, it's not going to be a problem. It's all about the defense. We've been saying that all year. Mm-hmm. How are they going to adjust? How are they going to contain against the bigs? Because once they get past Boston, for here on out, it's nothing but bigs they're going to face. So that's where the challenge is going to be.
The other series, obviously, we talked about Miami versus Milwaukee, the 3-6 matchup in the East. I think this is the toss-up. I feel like if you put money in this series, you're going to lose it because you don't know who's going to win this series. Milwaukee, you get what you get with them. You get good or you get bad. You don't know from night to night what you're going to get. And Miami, in the playoffs, like we saw last year in the bubble, dangerous. And Jimmy Butler's not missing games here. So, who you got?
I'm leaning towards Milwaukee in 7.
Okay.
Only because I'm gonna go with 7 because of home court, but I think it's gonna be a real drag down series.
I'm shocked that you picked Milwaukee.
Because Giannis, it's now or never for Giannis. It's now or never.
Well, here's the thing. Does Milwaukee have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals for pressure to come off a little bit? Or do they need to get to the finals?
They got to get to the finals. They got to get to the finals.
So if it's not the NBA Finals, Middleton's traded, they start kind of blowing things up bit by bit.
Yep. That's the thing about the top of the East. It's finals of bust for all 3 of those teams.
Yeah.
Because Philly's been together the longest, and they done saw LeBron win another championship in LA. They done saw Toronto win the championship. So they're kind of like trending, optic-wise like Boston. Not to say they're playing like Boston, but we're looking at them like, hey, we thought it was going to be Philly and Boston on top of the Eastern Conference for a decade. And here we are 5 years later. Nothing to show for it.
I've been bouncing back and forth between. I don't think it's going to go 7. I agree with you there. But I'm going to go with Miami.
Okay.
I feel like Milwaukee's too much like Dogecoin right now. It's too much volatility. You don't know what's happening. It's like from game to game. Because at the end of the day, Giannis is going to do what he does. Giannis is going to get his points. Giannis is going to do stuff. I feel like the problem becomes, is Chris Middleton going to have that game where he goes 10 for 13, or is he going to have a game where he goes 1 for 13? Is Brook Lopez going to have a good night? Drew Holiday, I think, could be an X factor because that's one thing they didn't have. You have Eric Bledsoe. You definitely upgraded from Bledsoe to Drew Holiday. So I feel like that's going to be the difference possibly too. But they just Jekyll and Hyde. You just don't know what you're getting from Milwaukee. You know what you're getting from Miami. Even if Tyler Hero is awful, you know what you're getting from Miami.
The sad part about the Bucks guards, they got to deal with the Heat shooters. So it's like you don't know what you're going to get.
And so that's my only issue about picking and listen, I know you anti-Milwaukee. I've been trying to sell you on Milwaukee for years, but on this one, I gotta go Miami in 7. The 1-8, Philly's gonna sweep whoever they get.
Pretty much, I'm with you. Whoever wins this game is getting swept.
Whoever they get is what it is. I did want to see Brooklyn, Washington for the Westbrook Durant angle.
I did too.
I was hoping that would happen because I'm like that one that adds intrigue, and 2, I feel like Washington could have taken 2 games from Brooklyn and made it a 6-game series.
I kind of agree with you. I feel like they would have forced the Nets to have to gel quickly,
which you couldn't do.
They would have been coming. Unfortunately for Tatum, I mean Boston maybe too would have probably got a game or 2 if Brown was playing, but now we see it's just Tatum. They could clamp down on him, and that's that.
Well, I watch Boston. I'm like, yo, besides Tatum, Kemba, Marcus Smart, I didn't know nobody else on that team. Tristan Thompson had a double-double, so I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. But besides those 4, I didn't know anybody.
I mean, I know Chase Edmonds. Chase.
Chase, who thinks he's the best player in the NBA every time. Every time. In the West, and we got to talk about the Clippers. So the LA Clippers.
Talk about Dogecoin.
Oh my God. The Clippers were 3. They were 3. Which would have lined up kind of if the Lakers were able to kind of overtake Portland, Lakers would get them. But they also would have stayed in the same bracket with the Lakers. So their second round opponent, even if they get the Lakers first round, could have been the Lakers. The Clippers, and this is allegedly, pretty much threw the final games of the season in order to avoid the Lakers, drop down to 4. So if they meet the Lakers, they won't see them to the Western Conference Finals. My question here, Jay, did this really happen? And how bitch was this move that the Clippers pulled?
Oh, this really happened. Oh, this was a bitch-made move. This was, what's great about this? Doc is not here anymore. So you can't say this was Doc's idea because I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been. But my thing is the best opportunity to take out the Lakers would have been the first round. Mm-hmm. Once you get them in the conference finals, that's it. They're in full rhythm. You're not beating them.
It kills me that they talked hella shit about wanting the Lakers
for 2 seasons now.
About wanting the Lakers and wanting this is our city. We want this, and you duck them. You duck them in the first round, and you duck them in the second round. I'm like, there's no. I'm going to play this clip from Nick Wright from First Things First on Fox Sports 1. There's no excuse for doing this at all. Here's Nick Wright on the Clippers. I don't know how to describe this. The Clipper thing.
I'm so disappointed in myself. Not in Antoine, not in the Clippers, in myself. Last year, I was America's leading Los Angeles Clippers truth teller. Some even called me an oracle. I said, no, that's too far. But I just saw what others couldn't see. That this was a flawed team, poorly built roster, and that they were being anointed a championship contender, and I didn't even see them as a conference finalist. This year, I had a choice to make early in the season. Am I going to stay riding on that Clippers, anti-Clippers train, or am I going to look at this as a new team with a new coach and a slightly tweaked roster with an open mind? And I decided to take that route. I was like, oh, Kawhi's playing more. I love Ty Lue. Ibaka, when healthy, potentially positive addition. Oh, the Clippers. They're a real contender this year. And no, they're not. And they know they're not. And that's why they did what was one of the most embarrassing, and as a pro athlete, I would have to imagine mortifying 36 hours of basketball I've ever seen. The Houston Rockets had won 5 times in 49 games. And they threw the game against them to make sure, no matter what, they wouldn't play the Lakers in round 1. And if that's not enough, the very next day, they play a Thunder team that had won once since April 1st. They had lost 23 of 24. And they throw that game. And you might say, why do they, if they can't play the Lakers in round 1, why do they even care about throwing that game? Because they don't want to play the Lakers in round 2 either. Forget the fact that if you want to go to the finals, you got to beat the Lakers anyway. And strategically, it's dumb. If you want to play the Lakers early than late, when Schroeder is just now getting back, when LeBron is just getting back, when AD is getting back. So it's a bad strategy, but it's also an embarrassing one. If you are a team, for instance, and this isn't how it played out, Joy, but if the Knicks could have lost a game to ensure they get the Hawks instead of the Heat, I actually would endorse that, because the Knicks' ceiling this year is the second round of the playoffs. So it's a hugely successful season if they win one round. The Clippers, if they don't make the finals, this first 2 years with Kawhi and Paul George is a massive failure. There is no, we made the Western Conference Finals for the first time in the history of our sorry franchise, hang a banner. No. So the fact that they are trying to game the system to avoid the team they're going to have to play anyway is, to me, it's not good strategy. And it's embarrassing for a team that is supposed to have the king of LA on it and be the best team in the West.
So that was Nick Wright with his views on what the Clippers did. Listen, he's right. Like, at the end of the day, you got Kawhi, you got Paul George to compete for a title. But now you're ducking teams to see if you can circumvent the matchups. It's crazy that they did that, and you knew what was happening when you didn't see them on the court at all.
First of all, he's wrong about one thing. The Knicks' ceiling is the conference finals. Thank you very much. And like we said last week, we saw the Bucks could have helped. The Bucks could have been like, yeah, we want the Knicks instead of Miami, but they went at Miami and took them in that game, and that's pretty much how the Knicks secured the 4th spot by them beating Miami, knowing that they're going to see Miami in the first round. So you want to see them early, get that revenge, knock them out in the first round. I think that's the Bucks mentality. It's like, you know what? Until we beat a good squad, we're not going to get our respect. And I feel like the Clippers, they played themselves. They should have just stayed where they were at. But no, they got scared. They got Clippers going to clip.
So we got Joe Keating in the house. Joe Keating, the ceiling in Dreamland for the Knicks. Apparently, Eastern Conference Finals in Dreamland.
In 3 weeks. In 3 weeks.
So the Clippers do get the Mavericks. Just for this bullshit they pulled, and this hella bitch move they pulled, I'm picking the Mavericks in 6, just to make things bad on them.
You got faith in Luka, and
I got faith in Luka Doncic. I feel like the Clippers. If it was Lakers Clippers, I probably would pick the Clippers. I really do feel like Rondo against the Lakers. That would have been one of those like, okay, we had to get Rondo to get past the Lakers.
They got Rondo. That's why I'm a little concerned.
In this pick, I'm being straight up. This pick is a straight up hate pick. There's no real basketball logic behind it. This is a hate pick for me because they disrespected the game. I don't appreciate it, so I'm picking the Mavericks.
Okay, I'm still gonna go to Clippers in 5, but I'll go 6. I'll go 6. Clippers are 6 only because of Rondo. I think Rondo's an X factor. They should have had him before, but it wouldn't surprise me if Luka has a breakout series, like he averages a triple double. I can see that.
So if he averages a triple double and they lose the series, is that bad for him? Or is that just him saying we need more? I need more help.
We need more help.
Okay, so
we can't rely on Tim Hardaway Jr.
No.
I mean, the Knicks couldn't.
Who can? The 1-8 right now is between Memphis and Golden State. They play tomorrow night in the last playing game. Utah gets the winner. I think whoever wins that game tomorrow night, Utah wins the series in 5. They'll probably drop a game. Donovan Mitchell will be back for game 1. Utah still not getting any love. I think people trying to kind of say, there's something there. There's something there. But for some reason, no one's still giving Utah any love.
Well, what's the sad part is Utah's probably got a clear path to the conference finals.
Because they will take on Clippers Mavs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Denver's not Denver anymore, and yeah, I think I'm gonna go 5 games. I'm gonna go
5 games.
I think.
All right, so Utah.
Steph gets you one at the Chase Center. That's it.
So you're saying Golden State wins tomorrow, takes on Utah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Denver, Portland's your 3-6. Denver's the 3, Portland's the 6. Denver without Jamal Murray. We're going to talk about the MVP race. They announced the finalists. They got Denver has the obvious MVP of the league, Nikola Jokic. Portland, they got Dame. This is another series.
I'm going Portland here.
Yeah,
Going Portland here.
I feel like if the teams were even and Murray was there, you take Denver all day.
Oh yeah, 5.
I think Murray not being there and them not really finding that one player to kind of replace him and trying this committee of scoring, I think Portland wins. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, when they got to him, I was like, "That's it, game over." I think you're right. I think Portland in 6. Yeah. Jokic can't do it by himself against Portland. I think first round is Dame time.
Yep.
First round is all him. So I think he's gonna come out and be like, I'm gonna drop 40 a game, put up shots. I think McCollum's okay. You're gonna see something. So I think, and listen, Enes Kanter, I still say he's most underrated center.
Big.
Yeah.
Such an underrated big.
It underrated in this game that we play now because his skill set is kind of like old now. It's kind of outdated, but it still kind of works in this game that everyone plays now. And it's weird how well he plays and how well what he does translates in today's games. It's crazy.
It goes back to what we said last week about the fundamentals, especially of the Europeans.
And so Portland, and then Phoenix, LA.
Poor Phoenix. You win 50 games. You get coach of the year. and you're going out at 5. It's sad. It's sad. It's not right. It's
Hold on. Okay. I did this last year, and I was wrong. But goddamn, I'm doing it again. Phoenix in 7. Let's go. Phoenix in 7.
You think it's going 7 games?
I think it's going 7 games. I really think, and we talk about Chris Paul early in the season. If this was Phoenix versus LA without Chris Paul, LA wins the series in 4, possibly 5. I think Chris Paul brings something to this team that they were missing last year. And God, for the entire time since Barkley's been gone. I really, as Joe Keating, CP has the Barkley complex. There you go. I really do believe that Phoenix with Chris Paul is a different team. And I feel like the Lakers, 80's back is messed up. LeBron's still on 100%, even though he hit that 3-eyed shot that he talked about last night. I really do feel like Phoenix has something going. I do feel like Ayton, and this is where Chris Paul comes in. I think Ayton's going to kind of have a breakout series. Because we're still waiting. Well, we've been waiting on DeAndre Ayton since he got drafted. And I feel like Ayton's been okay. I think this is the series where Chris Paul probably pulls him aside with some big fella. You got to do something big this series. You got to show people why you were the number 1 pick. You got to show people why you were the franchise of this team, why you and Devin are the future of the Phoenix Suns. And I feel like that pep talk from Chris Paul to Ayton, he could try to neutralize AD and have that back and forth for AD that we've been waiting for Ayton to have a series, and I think this is it right here.
See, that's why that same pep talk you're talking about, I think LeBron's going to give Kuzma that, and Kuzma's going to have a breakout series. This is why I'm sticking with Lakers in 5.
He has better luck of talking to Alex Caruso for that pep talk than Kuzma at this point. I'm not. I think they're beat up. I feel like AD's back is still sore. I think LeBron didn't look great last night. I know he hit the shot. Everyone's like, he hit the shot. Still look good. I think Phoenix takes the series in 7, and Chris Paul is going to make those guards work.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the difference.
The not having Rondo is definitely going to affect this series.
Yeah, I mean, for point, who's their point? Who's the Lakers' point guard right now?
It's LeBron.
That's the problem. LeBron's the point. He's a 3. He's also the 4. Little small boy can play 5 too. Like you can't. You need someone to run the offense. You can't always lean on LeBron. But okay, LeBron, you take the ball up. All right, LeBron, get in the post. All right, LeBron, stay behind. You can't do that.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to kind of pass out the ball a little bit and like, hey, we're going to depend on you, Alex Caruso. Your point tonight.
Well, so LeBron has never lost a first-round series. So you feel like Phoenix presents the biggest challenge to that?
Yes.
Okay.
I know I said it last year, too. I know I was dead wrong with Portland. But I'm going to say it again. I think Phoenix is a lot better team than Portland was last year. I think I just got in the Portland bubble train at the end of the season. So we're going to go round by round. We're not going to give you the whole playoffs and what we predict. We're going to round by round. And then when the first round's over, we'll look at what we said. Probably feel bad about it because I'm probably wrong. Jason's probably good. I'll be completely off. And we'll talk about it. They also announced the finalists for the awards tonight for the most valuable player. Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. I think we talked about Jokic, how he should be the MVP of the league. By far, no questions asked.
He should be getting. I feel like this is probably going to be a real close race. So I wouldn't surprise me if he wins by like a hair. Over. Well,
I feel like it's between Embiid and Jokic. I feel like Steph is there because Steph
he's
really
votes. He's going to get a lot of votes.
Oh, Steph's going to get a lot of votes. I think Embiid's going to get a lot of votes, but I think the time that Embiid missed hurt him.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like Jokic playing so many games, and especially the last couple of weeks when Murray went down, I feel like that raised his stock even more.
True.
About how he kind of held everything together and held everything down for Denver. So Jokic. For the Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, who should have been a Knick, just saying. The race, I think, is between Edwards and Ball. Do you think Ball missing all that time hurts him, or do you think he had enough goodwill before he got hurt to already have the award put away?
No, I think he had enough goodwill before he got hurt, and then when he came back, he was still in a playoff race. So I'll give him the nod.
Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, again. Draymond Green, Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons takes this one.
I think so.
I feel like Ben Simmons almost said, you know what, I can't shoot a three for shit, but I want to D up some guys. And I feel like his defense has been really, really good this year. I feel like Gobert always gets it.
True.
I feel like he's the perennial defensive player of the year. I feel like this year you have to look at Ben Simmons and go, his defense has been that linchpin for that Sixers defense and that Sixers team in general, because Embiid's great inside, and I feel like perimeter-wise, they really didn't have a defensive stopper until this year when I feel like Ben Simmons became that guy.
Okay. Make a compelling case, because I was going to probably go with Draymond, but...
Well, you agree, though. You feel like it should be someone different besides Rudy Gobert.
Someone different, yeah.
Yeah.
No one watches Utah, so I can't even tell you how well Rudy's playing. So there you go.
No one loves Utah. NBA Most Improved Player, Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter Jr., Julius Randle.
Oh, Julius Randle, runaway.
Yeah. Julius Randle gets this one. Who I forgot to put money on because I think he was at the All-Star break, he was 2,500 to 1 to win this award.
Wow.
And I didn't put $20 down like I said I was going to. I'm still kind of pissed about that. Sixth man, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, both from Utah, Derrick Rose from the Knicks.
Normally I'd say it should be Rose, but I got to give it to Clarkson. Every time I hear his stat line, I'm like, wow. The Lakers gave up on him.
Well, Joe Ingles is a dark horse too. I feel like Joe Ingles really has it's weird because he just looks like a slow white guy who just shoots. But he actually has game. Like he actually plays tight defense. He's a lot quicker than I thought he was, and he also shoots it.
He just looks slow on the court in real time, but he actually is very fundamentally skilled.
He looks like Woody Harrelson from White Man Can't Jump.
That's a great
you see Joe.
That's a great
You see,
assessment.
you see Joe Ingles. You're like, that's Billy Ho. That's what he looks like right now. But he's that game. But I agree with you. I think Jordan Clarkson wins this one. Coach of the year, I think, is already done. Quinn Snyder, Tibbs, Monty Williams. I've already heard two people, Stephen A. and Bill Simmons, say they already voted for Monty Williams. So I think Monty Williams gets this award.
Yeah. It's all good. Tibbs gets to the second round. It's all good.
And I know they haven't said obviously anything about NBA all NBA teams, but I definitely think that Randall will appear
on team 2.
Right? I think second team. Okay. All right. We're in agreement of that one. All right. So right now it is wait for my computer to load. There we go. 50-34. Washington on top of Indiana. They're in the second quarter. 6:41 left before the half. Washington up by 16 on Indiana, which kind of figured that would happen at some point. Indiana wouldn't shoot that well. So right now, Washington's in position to advance to play the Sixers in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Want to talk WNBA first week. Shout out to the Liberty. Shout out to Sabrina Ionescu. Wow. Like this is why they drafted her. This is exactly why they drafted Sabrina Ionescu last year. First game-winning 3. Second game, triple-double. How good is Sabrina Ionescu right now?
She's looking everything, like you said, everything's advertised. It's her team. She's running the point very well. I think, we said that the Liberties probably won't be competitive this season. Maybe we were wrong about that. Maybe they're gonna battle for a playoff spot this year. It's early. It's still early, but I think they look real good.
Here we go. We got Sabrina the GOAT. Sabrina the GOAT. Listen, I feel like I watched the first game and I'm just watching them play. And it feels like the ball is moving a little bit better than last year. There's a little bit more energy. You definitely see that on the court. I still miss Kia Nurse. That's still gonna hurt me a little bit. I think Kia Nurse is that missing piece for that team. But I'm also of the mind where, you know what? They got something here. They might have a team that might actually compete for a playoff. Like I said, a lot sooner than we think. Shout out to the Portland Fleet. That's my simulation football league team. What's going on? It's happening. So here's my question. At this point, I know it's a week. We can't really determine who's the best team. But I think right now the best team in the league might be the defending champion, Seattle Storm. What do you think?
Yeah, they look dominant and they look like they're ready for a repeat. So I kind of agree with you. I thought they would have took a step back, but they haven't. I also was impressed with Chicago and how well Candace Parker got that team going already. But it's still early. Got plenty of ball to go.
Well, that's what I said. I feel like it's early to kind of say, okay, who's the best team right now? You can't really say that.
You got to go to champs.
Yeah, but I mean, the Mystics? They don't look great. And I know Elena Deladon had major back surgery. You know, Tina Charles get a little long in the tooth. She get a little older, but they don't look great. And I felt like that was the one team out of the Eastern Conference. I was like, well, they're getting all the people back. Everyone who opted out of the rubble last year, they'll be back. It just seems like they're not on the same page, and it seems like they look worn down, especially considering a lot of them didn't play last year.
Yeah, already look at it. The first game they got their butts kicked.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. I think Washington. We might have to switch Washington with the Liberty. It's early, but we might have to switch them.
So right now, Connecticut's undefeated 3-0. New York Liberty also 3-0. You also have Chicago Sky 2-0. Phoenix 2-1. And if you go down the list, Vegas 1-1, Seattle's 1-1. They're losing right now by double digits. Atlanta, new ownership, everything. They're 0-2. Indiana 0-3. So Washington 0-2. I feel like Connecticut's always in that kind of top echelon of the WNBA. The Liberty's moved up there. Chicago shocked me, and Dallas, considering they had a bunch of draft picks. They're young. They're really, really young. And the one game they played so far, they look really, really good. It's one game. But they don't look like a team full of rookies. They look like a team full of vets who've kind of been there before.
Hey, it's a little scary.
It's like, I'm trying to think about a young NBA team that was really good really fast. I can't think of one on top of my head.
Oh, I always go to Orlando. To that.
Yeah.
Go to Orlando for that. Should have been New Orleans, but hey.
See, but even Orlando, I feel like you had Penny, you had Shaq, but then you also had Nick Anderson.
Who was the vet?
Dennis Scott was young. Mm-hmm. Scott Skiles was still kind of around.
Mm-hmm. Then they got Horace.
Was Tree Rollins there too, right?
I think he was there before. Was he?
Yeah, I think yeah. Horace was Horace after they drafted Shaq?
Yes.
Okay, so it was the year they made the playoffs with Shaq.
Yeah. Horace got the 94. After the
that was the year. That was the year they beat the that was the year they beat the Bulls when Jordan came back mid-season 4-5. All right, got it. Minnesota beating Seattle 44-26. They're in the second quarter of play. The one complaint I have, and I'm going to say this, and I might get fired for it. The Liberty, their first game of the season was on Friday night. It was on Yes. The Yankees played on WPIX here in New York. Their last two games have been on the Yes app, which no one has because usually to watch an app, people don't have cable. In order to watch the Yes app, you need a cable subscription. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of screwing over the Liberty by putting their games on an app that not a lot of people had because everyone's been cord cutting. So we talk about marketing and putting eyes on a product. Now it's about locally. They're getting duped now.
Yeah, that's not good. That's gonna have to change.
So I said it, and I work for them. I know I might get in trouble if they hear this, but I'm just saying, you could put the Yankees on WPIX a little bit more. Put them on Amazon Prime. You're good, but the Liberty need to be on TV.
Speaking to Liberty, shout out. I will be covering them again. I applied for my press credential. We're doing it a little differently this time. They're not gonna have us like in the locker room. It's gonna be like virtual, but you're gonna be at the old stomping ground. What's that? 201, the back.
Yeah, up the high up the tables.
Yeah, we're gonna be there again. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to going back.
I actually really missed that.
Same here.
I really miss going there and just being in that section. It's just. And plus, no one's ever really in that section.
Nope.
So it's like you just spread out. I like popcorn on one side. I got Pepsi on the other side. It's like spread out. I just kind of put my arms out. I'm like, this is nice. I like it here. It's cool. There was a good, interesting story about college basketball coaches on ESPN, and I'm gonna get your input. The most underappreciated coaches in the Big East. Now, obviously, this is the East Coast show, so we're gonna talk about the Big East. We know in the Big East you have a Jay Wright who's like the top of the list.
Yep.
and then everybody else is below Jay Wright. Is there one coach in the Big East that you think is kind of underappreciated and more people should be paying attention to and saying he's a really good coach and he's going to be put in that conversation as one of the best coaches in the country?
Damn, see, that's where it gets tough because I was going to say maybe Ewing, but I don't think he's there yet.
Mm-mm. Well, Ewing saved his job with the Big East run. So I think that's the problem. I feel like if that run didn't happen and they didn't win the conference tournament, Ewing would be fired. But I mean, you can't. If you look at the Big East as a whole, Mike Anderson, who St. John's just signed to the extension, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Kevin Willard, I don't see it. There's not a lot of like great coaches in the Big East where you're like, oh my God, that guy's really, really good.
And what's crazy about like with Jay Wright, he doesn't really recruit out here like that well compared to like how other coaches in other conferences would. So it's like he's just doing it by default.
Well, I was having a conversation today at work, and my issue with a lot, and I'm talking more locally for us, St. John's, Seton Hall, UConn, who just came back into the Big East. I feel like, the Hurley brother in UConn, he's local. So he's looking here.
Right.
Willard has kind of a local New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, so he looks here. St. John's continuously look outside of the area to get their coaches. Mike Anderson's from Arkansas. Mike Anderson's a Southern coach. He's a good coach, but he's still a Southern coach. For some reason, St. John's, they don't look home, and I don't understand why. Jay Wright doesn't look in the Philadelphia area that much, where there are ballers in Philadelphia. And I don't understand why these coaches refuse to kind of stay in their lane. If you look in, let's go football. Texas football, those Texas schools keep those Texas guys there to play football in Texas.
They get first dibs.
Why can't the same be made for New York and like Philly and New Jersey? Kevin Willard recruits a lot out of New York. I know Isaiah Whitehead came from New York. Ian Carrington came from New York. He's really good with like schools like Christ the King and those places. He's figured it out. Mike Anderson's getting guys from Florida. And I'm like, this guy's in your own backyard. It's like Mike Jarvis all over again in the 90s.
Oh, yep. Oh, man, that name. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Listen, I feel like you have to recruit where you are. Unless you're Duke or North Carolina or Kentucky, you have to recruit in your backyard. You can't win if you don't keep you guys home. You can't. There's no way.
Random good question. Who do you think's doing a better job recruiting, and who do you think's done a better job recruiting in the last couple of years? Rutgers, Seton Hall, St. John's.
The issue with St. John's, they've gotten a lot of transfers. And I don't consider transfers recruits. Like, I feel like a lot of the guys that they've gotten has come from like Auburn or George Mason or random schools like that. I feel like Willard did a really good job because he got Whitehead, he got Carrington, he got Angel Delgado. They're all together. He's got he's got. I would say Rutgers only because the guys they recruit weren't like highly recruited, but they turned out really well, like a Geo Baker. Geo Baker had no business being as good as he was in the Big Ten, and he's really, really good. Ron Harper Jr., I know you got the name, but he don't got the game. He don't got the game like his father. But once again, he had no business being as good as he was. I really do think Steve Peichel kind of took this program and said, you know what, we got to build it from scratch. And he did that. And the color was bare when he got to Rutgers. There was nothing there. So I would say the last 3 years has got to be Rutgers.
Okay. I'll probably lean towards Rutgers as well.
Now, before that.
And St. John last.
Yeah. Now, before that, Seton Hall had it. Seton Hall had a crazy class. And, I still say Isaiah Whitehead should not have left early. He should have stayed.
Yeah.
There was no reason for him to leave when he left after the sophomore year. But, I mean, I guess Willard, I guess you could say is underappreciated, maybe. Possibly. Peichel. I think Peichel not anymore. I think Peichel's in that upper echelon now in the Big East after that run. But we shall see. Jay Wright is also a Hall of Fame nominee. So congratulations to Jay Wright. He's going to the Hall of Fame next year. So, along with Ben Wallace, which I don't understand that one.
The first undrafted player ever.
Is Ben Wallace the Hall of Fame player?
No, but this is a basketball Hall of Fame, so everyone gets in.
Ed Cooley, Providence coach. Ed Cooley. That's the name I just popped up on screen. Ed Cooley's the guy who I think is like really underappreciated. All of his guys graduate. No one ever leaves early.
Nope.
All these guys graduate and they play hard. They're not very good. They're not very good at all. But he gets them to play hard every single game. So I think that's the one. Last story of the night. NCAA Division I Council plans to hash out athlete pay rules in June. So by June, we could actually have some rules regarding athlete pay. My question to you, will we have rules for athlete pay in June? Is this going to happen?
I think it has to happen. It has to happen. And I think it will. But my thing is, it's going to be all across the board. It's going to be totally equal. It's going to be totally fair. Can a volleyball player find a way to make the same amount of money as a basketball or football player if they get more creative, like on YouTube? Or are you going to let them keep that YouTube channel? I'm kind of curious to see what's going to form, how it's going to pan out that way.
Well, I feel like the issue is you have to have rules in place, not so much for the big schools, but you have to have the field level. Because Alabama can market their guys a lot more than you can market in Cleveland State. And then for college basketball, football, you can market a lot more than if you do for softball or baseball. So I feel like it has to be across the board. Plus, you got Title IX to think about. You can't do something for men without doing for women.
Exactly.
It has to be even. So there's a lot to hash out. Plus, you don't want. I'm sorry, Alabama's gonna be like, hey, if you come here, we have a YouTube channel. We already got the fans built in, so you can monetize it. You get some money. If you go to Buffalo, we got a YouTube channel, but we got 2 people. I'm curious to see, especially the Power 5 conferences are ones that scare me because those are the ones who hold the most power. And
they're gonna find ways to restrict a lot of stuff.
Restrict and just hold down those mid majors, which is gonna be insane.
But I do predict if they find a way to make everyone get paid for likenesses, I feel like that's going to benefit the historically black colleges. Because I think a lot of people are going to start flocking to those schools.
Well, here's the thing now, though. Do you think the players having the ability to market themselves, do you think this could be the end of scholarships? Since you're making your own money, we don't have to give you any money.
No. You still need scholarships because no one's going to make that kind of money the first couple of years. Maybe down the line, but still need scholarships.
And last question, do you think this affects players who are picking the G League over college? Do you think more players are like, well, if I can make money in college, I don't have to go to G League?
Yes, because, nothing like that college. We're both college men. There's nothing like that college experience. And if you get paid for it, imagine going back to school and you was getting paid for it.
I was general manager of my radio station and got paid a couple $100 twice a semester, twice something like that. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I can't imagine if I was getting you got $1,000 because your jersey sold in a bookstore. Wait, I got $1,000? What? We're going to the bar tonight.
At least in school you had structure. Like these guys are going to G League. There's no structure.
Well, that's why the Ignite team didn't work because that Ignite team was like this weird mix of these young guys out of high school. And they're like Jarrett Jack. I'm like, wait, what? That didn't work. I don't know. I'm curious to see what kind of rules they put into place, but also how much the Power 5 really messes with those mid majors, and how much that dynamic changes. That
they will.
You can make a lot more money at the majors than if you go to a really good mid major. So it's Power 5. They run everything in NCAA. So. We shall see. Jason Cordner, as always, great show.
Likewise.
So everybody enjoy the basketball. We got a lot to talk about next week. Hopefully the Knicks are up. Hopefully the Nets are down. That's what we're hoping on this show. And hopefully no one gets hurt. That's what we hope. No one gets hurt. Podcast up tomorrow. If you missed the show, check us out on the podcast. Watch YouTube again. Hey, if you're watching this now, watch us again. So Check us out. For Jason, I'm Kahlil. Thank you for watching the Box Out here on the Just Hoop Talk YouTube channel. We'll see you next Thursday night, 8 p.m. Peace.
Peace.